Hey everyone, welcome back to where we bring you the latest deep dives into global events, unpacked from every angle. Today, we're exploring a major turning point in Middle Eastern politics and U.S. foreign policy, the United States striking Iran's nuclear sites in June 2025. In this episode, we'll cover how it unfolded, what weapons were used, regional and global reactions, and what this means going forward. A sudden shift in the Middle East. On the night of June 21, 2025, the U.S. military launched precision strikes on Iran's nuclear infrastructure. President Donald Trump, in a national address and earlier posts on Truth Social, confirmed that U.S. forces struck 3 nuclear facilities, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. He emphasized the operation was a spectacular military success and warned Iran, either peace or tragedy. This marked the first time American forces conducted direct bombing on Iranian soil, an escalation that reshaped a conflict that had already been heating up between Israel and Iran. Though Israel had already been conducting its own strikes since mid-June, this U.S. involvement was unprecedented. The targets were among the most strategic in Iran's nuclear program. Fordow is an underground uranium enrichment site buried 300 feet under a mountain, heavily fortified and shielded by air defenses. Natanz and Isfahan are also key parts of the enrichment apparatus. The goal? Halt Iran's nuclear weapon ambitions by dismantling its ability to produce highly enriched uranium. American forces deployed top-tier ordnance. B-2 stealth bombers carried massive ordnance penetrators, GBU-57A-B, known as bunker busters. These are 30,000-pound bombs designed to penetrate deep underground. Around 12 were dropped on Fordow, with 2 more near Natanz. Meanwhile, submarine-launched Tomahawk cruise missiles targeted Natanz and Isfahan. This combination aimed to neutralize all layers of underground nuclear infrastructure. President Trump made it clear, Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. He added that all U.S. aircraft had safely exited Iranian airspace, and cautioned that more targets remain if Iran refuses peace. Iran responded forcefully. Within hours, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi condemned the attacks as a grave violation of the UN Charter, international law, and the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. He warned that the strikes would have everlasting consequences, and stated Iran reserves all options to defend itself. Early next morning, Iran launched a missile barrage at Israel. Air raid sirens sounded across several population centers, with reports of at least 16 people injured and some damage. Iranian state media framed the response as just beginning. Now it's our turn, signaling significant retaliation. Iran's atomic agency and the UN's International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, reported no radiation leaks. They confirmed radiation monitoring showed no contamination at nearby areas. Domestically in the U.S., reactions split along party lines. Many Republicans applauded the attack as necessary to counter Tehran's nuclear ambitions. Speaker Mike Johnson and others cited it as a decisive message. Meanwhile, prominent Democrats, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Representative R. O'Connor, and Senator Bernie Sanders, condemned the move, citing lack of congressional authorization and calling for oversight under the War Powers Act. President Trump asserted the strikes were legal under his commander-in-chief authority. He emphasized they were aimed at preventing nuclear weapon development, not regime change, and warned Iran of further strikes if peace wasn't pursued. On the global stage, the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres expressed deep alarm, calling it a dangerous escalation that risks spiraling into regional chaos. He urged for restraint and diplomatic solutions. Countries in the region expressed concern. Saudi Arabia highlighted stability risks and urged de-escalation. Iraq condemned the action as a grave security threat. Lebanon and Gulf states emphasized avoiding being drawn deeper into the conflict. Allies like Israel welcomed the strike. Prime Minister Netanyahu praised the action, describing it as something no other country could do, crediting U.S. leadership with removing a nuclear threat. Analysts, however, warned of asymmetric retaliation by Iran, attacks on U.S. forces, pressure in the Strait of Hormuz, proxy warfare, which could pull the U.S. deeper into an open-ended engagement. Financial markets took note. While weekend closures limited immediate reactions, crypto fell sharply. Ether down over 5%, Bitcoin nearly 1%. Oil markets are particularly sensitive. Experts warn supply disruptions via the Strait of Hormuz could push prices above $100 per barrel. Investors are now choosing safer assets, bracing for volatility tied to potential Iranian retaliation. Experts warn the invasion opens a precarious new chapter. Foreign Affairs Elon Goldenberg calls it a major gamble, with risks including U.S. entanglement in a broader Middle Eastern war, which conflicts with Trump's "no more forever wars" stance. He outlines two possible paths. Iran capitulates under pressure and negotiates terms, or Tehran escalates with direct attacks on U.S. personnel or economic centers. Either scenario could draw the U.S. deeper and expand the conflict regionally. Looking ahead, attention turns to Iran's next moves: missile strikes, asymmetric warfare, proxy mobilization. U.S. strategy, diplomacy versus further military engagement, congressional oversight. Regional stability, security for Gulf states, shipping lanes, global oil markets. Global norms, preemptive strikes on civilian nuclear infrastructure, response under international law. This shift in policy breaks earlier U.S. restraint and sets new precedents. In summary, the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites represent a watershed moment. Unprecedented American bombing on Iranian soil, decisive use of bunker buster ordnance, sharp global backlash, and a pivot toward a significantly escalated conflict. It raises urgent questions about international law, strategic calculation, and future escalade. Thanks for staying with us on this deep dive.